Hey, I'm Ben Frisch from Get Digital Support and the South Georgian Bay and Grey County Digital Service Squads, here with another webinar on this one on SEO strategies to drive more website traffic. And we're going to jump right into it right after we just give a quick intro to DMS and the Digital Service Squad. The Digital Main Street program, of course, is a free program, has been around since 2018. We just finished up our 4th round of grants, and there's a ton of different supports available to local businesses, both here in South Georgian Bay, but also across Ontario. Some of those amazing programs and supports include the squads ourselves, who are teams of local digital marketing professionals that will help guide you through this program, but then also can help with lots of other things like SEO, like social media, advertising, whatever you have questions about. We've got a ton of expertise and we are here to help you. And we'll have the booking link coming up as well. But then there's also the Digital Main Street Shop Here program. And that's a pretty amazing program because there are teams of individuals who will build an e-commerce website for you for free. And it's eligible to almost anybody in Ontario at least. And you can get a free Shopify website built for you, and they'll show you how to use it. They'll help you get inventory in there, and the process is actually really quick and simple. So if you're interested in getting an e-commerce website, that is a great avenue to check out. And then there's also the Ontario grants, so also known as the Digital Transformation Grant from Digital Main Street, that again just wrapped up the 4th round of applications. They are out of grant funding for now, but hopefully it will come back in 2024. But so far we don't have any word on that yet. But then finally, there's also the Canadian Digital Adoption Program, CDAP, as it's also known. And this is similarly a grant program, $2,400, typically more for e-commerce businesses, but it's open to a pretty wide variety of digital marketing expenses. And the criteria is a little bit more lenient, perhaps, than the digital transformation grant. So definitely worth checking out at digitalmainstreet.ca. So I always like to mention as well, like with these webinars, that we try to make them as broad as possible for everyone. And so if in the case that it's not technical enough or too technical, we definitely recommend connecting with the Digital Service Squad. We have a booking link here, booking.getdigitalsupport.ca, and that's where you can just book a meeting with us, and we can take you through anything. And it's also helpful sometimes too when we can put it in the context of your business and what you're trying to achieve. And we can help you, set up some of these tools and things, right there, one-on-one. It's a pretty awesome service that we provide, if I do say so myself. So, with regards to SEO, what we're talking about today, we're going to talk about some valuable SEO tools. We're going to talk about on-page SEO, underperforming pages. We're going to look at links, an overview of that, building link building strategies, as well as, improving your page rankings. And we've done this webinar several times, and we always try and update it every time we do it, because obviously SEO, search engine optimization, is changing always. And we always like to just, try and make these as informative as possible and up to date. But one change I made too is moving the valuable SEO tools up to the top. To talk about those first, just because we're going to reference them quite often throughout the presentation. So I figure let's talk about those first, so that when we do reference them, you have a little bit more context and understanding of what those tools are and where to find them. So here are 7 really key search engine optimization tools that we use all the time. All of them are free or to an extent, and they provide just a ton of insight that we need to be able to understand, like, what is our search engine optimization, or how is our website performing in search. And these tools are giving us the feedback that we need, helping us to come up with ideas and strategies to make the necessary improvements across the board. So the first one is an SEO report from SE Optimer. So seoptimer.com. And it's free for anyone to run a single report, one per day. So we actually recently upgraded to a membership with that website, because we love the report and the feedback it gives us, and B, we needed to do more. We were maxing out our single use pretty consistently, so we made the jump to a paid membership. And that's where, if you book a consult with the Digital Service Squad, we can run, as many reports for you as you need, in the context of, talking about your SEO and walking you through those reports. But one of the reasons why I like those reports is that it tends to put things into pretty clear language. It rates your on page, your social, your performance, usability, and gives you a score for each of these different areas, and gives a breakdown of like what's missing, what can use improvement. And in my opinion, it's one of the better SEO reports that I've seen. Just like, I really like how easy it is to understand, and the flow of it. And so we've had really good feedback from clients that just, it helps take some of the stress out of SEO, because it can be a very overwhelming kind of thing in your business life, and it puts brings some clarity to that, and gives you sort of an action item list of things to do. And speaking of action item lists, the second tool on our list is specifically a WordPress plugin called Rank Math. Another popular one that a lot of people use is Yoast, and they're both very similar. They do the same thing, but essentially the benefit of these kinds of plugins is that it just gives you an action item list of, here's how you can make this page that you're working on like an SEO powerhouse. It just tells you straight up, like, put your keyword in the title, put it in the body, put it more times in the body of the page. So it's just really helpful in taking the thought out of that process and making it more of just a go down the list and hit those with every page you make, or as you make improvements on different pages. You can use a tool like that to just make sure that you're checking off all the boxes, and increasing your likelihood of being ranked for this keyword. And then speaking of keywords, Google Keyword Planner is a decent tool for brainstorming ideas. Because when it comes to search engine optimization, sometimes we don't often know all the keywords that people are using to search for the product or service that we are selling. So getting some extra input there from Google, even ChatGPT is a good option for this. Getting some just different variations of how people might search for this particular product or service is a really good, useful tool. And then Search Console, we use very regularly. This is one of the most important tools when it comes to like getting that feedback from Google, because this is a Google product, a Google platform. And it's sort of like analytics, but the data that Search Console is giving you is what happens before they get to your site, whereas analytics is what happens when they're on your site, where they're clicking, what pages, how long they're spending there. But Search Console is really valuable in getting feedback from Google to understand, what keywords your website is ranking for, how many clicks those keywords are getting. And this is largely where we're going to, draw our feedback from, so that we can make the necessary improvements and hopefully see those impressions go up, and more importantly, the clicks as well. So also a tool that your digital service squad can help you set up if you have any need for assistance in that department. And then moving along to number 5 is Page Speed Insights. So this is another free Google service, and this is going to give you feedback on the load time of your website. And it's really in depth. It actually gets pretty technical. So I often recommend, handing this off to a web developer to comprehend, to understand, and implement any changes that are necessary based on that report. But it is a really great tool because the speed of your page does impact your search engine optimization quite a lot. So it is something that you really need to be on top of, and try and keep the page speed as high as possible, or as fast as possible. So number 6 and 7 are kind of similar. They're both from ahrefs.com, but one is for checking for broken links, and the others for checking for backlinks. So broken links, of course, are links that are either they're pointing into your site and the page doesn't exist. Search Console will also give you feedback on that. If they crawl your website and they see that that a page that used to be there is no longer there, that can be problematic. And so we're going to talk about ways to fix those issues, but certainly something to be on top of. And then your backlink checker is links that are just out there on the web pointing into your website. The more the better, for a number of reasons. So this is a way to just get a snapshot of what links you have pointing into your website, so that you can develop strategies for creating more or getting more links in your website. And you can see things like your domain authority increase, and hopefully general SEO improvements overall. So that's a lot of the valuable SEO tools. I almost added Google Analytics as well, but we're going to be doing a dedicated analytics webinar, so be sure to check that out coming soon at getdigitalsupport.ca. So let's jump in and talk about on-page SEO. On-page SEO refers to the copy and the text behind each page that you have on your website. So this includes your title tags. So both title tags and meta description tags refers to like an HTML code being in the background. So it's more in the background, but those two things are what Google sees when they serve up your page in an organic search. So definitely, give lots of consideration to what you put in there for your title and your meta description. Try and use up as much space as allowed, and try and make it as enticing as possible. And header tags are also really important. So again, the tags being sort of an HTML reference. But essentially, there's this sort of classification of headers where number one you have the option of 1 to 6, and 1 being the most important, or usually like not only is it the biggest visually, but it's also should be the most important in terms of the content, or the, I guess, like the description of your content. So the reason for that is that as Google has become more and more advanced at understanding what content is on your page, one of the ways they do that is by really just giving a lot of weight in terms of the the H1 tags, that hierarchy. So they're giving a lot of consideration to, okay, you've got an H1 tag. This should be the most important header, the most important sort of description about what this page contains. And then subsequently, you've got your, H2 would be a subheading, gives a little bit more information. H3, H4, so on, will be subheadings that, get a little bit more granular, or a little bit more broad, but will ultimately help Google to understand what is this page about, what are the different sections, and it's how Google can like serve up direct answers to your questions sometimes, because they have seen that question in a header followed by the answer, and they can just easily serve it up and say, this is the answer to the question that you just asked. So one thing to keep in mind too is that your each page should have only one H1 header, because that's the most important one. They don't like when you have more than one H1 headers, but you can have multiple H2s, H3s, H4s, because those are all subheadings. They're all sort of more descriptive in terms of what this page is about. So keep that in mind, just one H1 header per page. And then we want to talk about, keyword frequency with your on-page SEO. This one's pretty self-explanatory. You want your main keyword to just show up as many times naturally, of course, throughout your content. Again, this is where like a plugin, like if you have a WordPress website and you have a plugin like Yoast or Rank Math, it will tell you if you don't have enough frequency of your focus keyword, or if you're doing good. It will analyze and just double check that. Also, the SE Optimer SEO report will give you some feedback on what keyword phrases are showing up with the most frequency, because what we find a lot of times is that a lot of those keyword phrases are things that people don't realize. It might be something unrelated to their business. It might just be something they like saying a lot, and that's not helpful. So we want to kind of flip the switch on that and get a clear picture of what is showing up with a lot of frequency, and make sure that it is like a focused keyword that's related to the business, related to the products and or services that we are selling. And then number 5, written content quality and quantity. So we want to make sure that not only do we have quality content, it's helpful, it's informative, it's well written, it's not full of mistakes, but that there's lots of it, because and this is maybe a little contrary to what a lot of people think, that you want to keep it short, you want to keep it really direct. When it comes to like search engine optimization, more is better. I often use the example of recipe websites. Everyone always loves to complain, you click on a recipe and you've got this huge blog post to go through. But the reason for that is like, that's why that recipe showed up at the top in the first place. When you searched for, lasagna recipe, you probably clicked on one of the first three options, and that listing was in that top three because they had written this huge blog. They used targeted keywords throughout the blog. They used their targeted keywords in their headers and in their alt text. So that's why, like, more content, and you want to make sure, again, it's quality content, but more is definitely better in that regard for SEO. And we see this too a lot of times with product pages. So we were helping a client just yesterday, actually, with products with very short descriptions. And this is not helpful either, right? Because when we think about people searching for what you're selling, you want to give Google as much information about what it is, how it works, what's in it, what it's made of, so that they can confidently match up your product page with a search. And so that can be a daunting task for, anyone in retail who has a lot of products. But, we were able to show this one client, like, ChatGPT is a pretty good tool when it comes to just like writing lengthy product descriptions. Again, you want to edit that for quality purposes, but and accuracy, of course, but can save a lot of time in the end in creating the amount of content that would be required. And then number 6, we've also got image alt attributes. I mentioned, with regards to like the recipe page, they'll have images of their recipe and alt text. Again, this is a bit of an HTML reference in that it's more in the background. But one of the key important reasons for alt text is actually for the visually impaired. So if anyone is using like a reader that will read the content out loud, having alt text allows them to hear, get a description of what is in that image, so that it's accessible to the visually impaired. So that's the main, or like, technical purpose for it. But on the same at the same time, Google will use that information to also understand what this image is about, or what that image contains, because Google bots, they can't see yet. I like to say it's probably coming, but they need to read that information so that they can understand it as well. And so that's why alt attributes, are really important. You want to make sure those are included in all of your images, and where possible, where applicable, make sure that those alt attributes include keywords that you want people, that are a focus for that page in particular. So when it comes to improving titles and descriptions, we want to rank high for, or if something's ranking high for a keyword but not getting any traffic, two main factors that can influence this, meaning, or like what we call click-through rate. So, the number of impressions versus the number of clicks, are the title tag and meta description. I talked about those in within the context of the on-page SEO. And this image on the left here is, how that actually looks on Google. So, basically enhancing these, or, giving a lot of thought to what are those titles and descriptions, and making them as like action oriented or as informative as possible can really help increase our click-through rate, get more clicks. And I'll go back as well to say, how do we know what is getting impressions, what's getting clicks? I would say make sure, remember when we talked about Google Search Console, that is exactly what that tool can help you with. Understanding, what is getting impressions, what's getting clicks, and giving you that direct feedback. But again, within the context of making those improvements, it can be easier said than done. Sometimes people just don't click. So, one opportunity we want to look for is to find keywords that we're on the first page of, look for keywords with low click-through rates, and try to just improve those titles and descriptions. So as I said, try and make them as enticing as possible. Maybe even try switching things up if you're noticing that they're not getting a lot of clicks. And similarly, we can look at the overall performance of certain pages and look at what's not performing. And again, this is where plugins like Yoast or Rank Math will guide our SEO improvements with a checklist of what to add and where. Like I said, they just give you, you have to type in what your keyword focus is for that particular page, but then the plugin will tell you, okay, put that keyword here, 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 and here, and make sure you have, some inbound and outbound links. And it's just really helpful in terms of like getting that process kind of down and completed, and it makes huge improvements to your overall SEO. And then what's great about these plugins as well is that they give your page like an overall score based on how many of those things you've checked off or been able to check off. Then that's one of the reasons why I do like Rank Math more so than Yoast, is because Rank Math scores you by numbers, from 0 to 100, and you do get to see like little incremental increases as you do each of those, as you check off each of those things that they're telling you to do. Whereas Yoast, it's a little bit more frustrating in that they just use icons. So you get a frowny face, just a straight mouth emoji, or a happy smiley face. And so sometimes it can be frustrating when you keep making changes and you're not getting your smiley face. But I mean, it's a little bit more like not that big of a deal at the end of the day. I mean, I think more wired for that kind of incremental increase. And but essentially they both do the same thing, and they're going to help you to make these kinds of improvements. And I always say, like, don't forget that SEO is a long-term strategy. So it is all about the small but consistent improvements. So even just getting an extra 5 points on that SEO score, keep working at it, keep chipping away, and it's going to get better. It's going to make a difference for sure. So content refresh is also worth exploring as well. So sometimes content that used to perform well ceases to do so, and we want to start thinking about making some updates. Things change all the time. Algorithms change for Google. People's interests change, and therefore, you might see declines in the effectiveness of your content. So definitely consider, refreshing, republishing existing articles, blogs regularly to just try and keep the content up to date, keep your rankings as high as possible. And you can, again, get this information from Search Console and your traffic reports. And if you see a dive in traffic, and that could be from analytics as well. So if you just happen to see, this particular page had, even just 100 views a month previously, and now it's dropped off to 10, then okay, this might be a good opportunity to refresh some of this content. So backlinks to dead pages, also known as, like I mentioned, the 404 not found. This graphic here is something like what you would see when you land on a page that no longer exists. This is a really terrible thing to have on your website. You want to try and fix this as quickly as possible. The reason being, if your links are broken, you do lose page rank authority. And so, you just want to stay on top of it. And luckily the fix is easy. There's redirects that you can set up. So if you have a WordPress website, there's plugins that can just redirect, meaning you just tell it, here's the old URL that's broken or non-existent anymore. Here's the new URL. And so anyone coming to the old one just gets redirected to the new one, and no one knows the difference. So it can be a quick and easy fix, as long as you don't have like a ton of these 404 page not found or broken links. Then you might have to think about bit of a bigger strategy there in terms of fixing that. But how to find these issues is pretty simple. Again, there's this Ahrefs backlinks and broken link checker. You can just plunk in your URL and it will give you feedback on any issues that it finds there. And then speaking of links, let's talk about link building strategies. So link building strategies, of course, being, driving links or putting links out on the internet that drive traffic to your website. This is, vitally important. And I will say too, interestingly enough, I noticed within the last couple of months, SE Optimer, that report that we really like, has really amped up or sort of like increased the amount that they sort of stress the importance of links. And now when we run a report, we always see at the very top, like the very first recommendation on pretty much every report will be implement a link building strategy. Like we see it all the time. It's like one of the highest importance. And like I said, I feel like they've really increased that over the last couple of months. So it just tells me that, more and more this is becoming an important aspect of our SEO that we really need to focus on and give some attention to. So one way we can do that is with linked mentions. So let's say a website that wrote an article mentions you or your company. A easy strategy is to reach out to them and just say, hey, I saw your article. Thanks so much. Would you mind giving us a link back to putting a link to our website with this content? And usually, that's acceptable practice. It's a very reasonable thing to ask for, I think, and it should, help you out and get you that link. Another idea is competitor dead links. So again, if there's a piece of content out there, maybe an article or something that's written about a product or service, and that's maybe similar to yours, and you notice that it's linked to a broken page or a dead page that no longer exists, but maybe you have a page that would, that could replace that. That would be a good alternative. So I know it's a great idea to just reach out to that page, that business, and suggest, hey, we noticed this broken link. How about linking to our content instead? And again, it's hard. It'd probably be a hard thing to say no to, because no one, as we know, no one wants dead links on their website, or it's should be something that you're working towards getting rid of. So that's a great solution there. And then here's a bunch of other just additional link building strategies that we wanted to provide as well. And, starting from creating high quality content by developing, informative, valuable, shareable content, hopefully people will just naturally want to link to it. Guest blogging is a pretty popular strategy as well. So that's, you presenting yourself as an expert in your field, perhaps, and approaching other websites that are in the same field or genre, and delivering a blog to them, or giving them a blog post or an article that can be content for them, can help them out, and then all you ask in return is like a link back to your website. That can be really effective. So number 3, resource link building. Kind of similar to creating high quality content, but essentially, more in regards to comprehensive resources, guides, tools that others in your industry can link to. This is something we've done at Get Digital Support, by trying to put together some really great resources and things for businesses. Hopefully, we'll get people linking to those so they don't have to create them themselves, and they can send people there. Utilizing online directories is another fantastic approach. Something that I did when I first launched my business was just go out there and find all of the local business directories. They don't even have to be local. They could be industry specific, but any kind of directory. Most of them, a lot of them are free, thankfully, but then, you might also consider some paid directories, like Better Business Bureau, is one of them that I can think of. But there's certainly a lot of free directories that are out there from, BIAs and like Yelp is a good example as well, where you can just create an account, put together a bit of a business profile and have a link back to your website. Number 5, conduct webinars. It's a pretty good strategy, I gotta say. But also, hosting podcasts, interviews, that kind of thing. Again, similar to the content creation approach, it's about creating these types of material, content that will resonate with people and hopefully get people linking to it, sharing it, and get those links up. Lastly, number 6, monitor your competitors' backlinks. So both of those tools that I mentioned, the Ahrefs, actually all of the tools like SEO, SEO Optimer, you can run all of these on your competitor's website. So these are great strategies in terms of understanding what your competitors are doing or how they are managing their SEO, to perhaps give you some ideas and strategies as well. I mean, a good example of like monitoring your competitors' backlinks, maybe if you ran that backlink report on a competitor's website, you maybe see like you may find an online directory that you didn't know about, that's maybe industry specific or something that you could take advantage of as well. So it's not about just doing what they're doing, but just trying to see where they're at and get some inspiration and identify different opportunities and hopefully surpass their link building efforts. So when it comes to improving your page rankings, the big question of, are you ranking? I always want to, put this in here and discuss it because it can be sort of an abstract question I know it was for me when I first started my business, and didn't really have a solid understanding of like, what does that even mean? But ultimately, like Google Search Console is your answer to that question, or it has your answer to that question. It's going to help you determine what keywords your website is ranking for, meaning how many impressions you're getting, and how many clicks you're getting for each of those individual keyword phrases. And what's really important as well is to take notice of not only what's there on that report, but also what's not on that report. Meaning, are there keywords that your business should be ranking for, you feel like are in really important search term that's related to your business? If it's not on the list, that's a really great opportunity to create some content and sort of fill that gap. And that's what we're talking about on the next slide here, is filling those content gaps. So noticing a topic that either you are missing or maybe your competitor is ranking for, but you're not, or not even addressing on your site. You want to start filling those gaps by adding the content necessary, making sure that you're hitting all those SEO check marks, and really kind of building out that content and like I said, hitting those SEO check marks. And then pay-per-click can also be a really great strategy in terms of assisting your search engine optimization. So pay-per-click referring to advertising. So usually Google, search ads, but it could also be like social media ads. But essentially like running pay-per-click campaigns, running advertising in support of your key pillar content. Google does account for this when it comes to factoring that traffic towards your organic ranking, because traffic plays a role. Like how it's unfortunate because it's almost like, what came first, the chicken or the egg, but the traffic that you get factors into how much Google will sort of rank you. And so that, one of the ways to just increase traffic without getting a higher ranking is by, doing some advertising. But I will say that good SEO practice is good for pay-per-click, and just as much as pay-per-click is good for SEO. So that's why like these two strategies are really great together, because they both help each other out in terms of just driving more traffic and better rankings, and more organic traffic to your website. So definitely give that some consideration if you are working on your SEO. And then that is our full presentation, our full webinar on search engine optimization. As I mentioned, you can book a consult with the Digital Service Squad at any time, booking.getdigitalsupport.ca. And, we're going to be around until the end of March right now. And so we're happy to help with any of these issues. We can get any of these different tools set up and talk to you about, what's the best place to start when it comes to SEO. That was actually one of the questions that we got when I ran this webinar live. And I will say, SEO Optimer, running a report, looking at Search Console, these are going to be some really great places to start, because you're going to have, an action item list as to what is high priority, what is medium and low priority, so that you can start sort of attacking that list and checking those things off and making some little improvements for big long-term gain. So Hope you found this helpful, and we look forward to having you at the next webinar. We'll see you then. Bye for now.